We have an economy that's not working for people. Billionaires and trillionaires seem to be doing just fine in this country. Everyone else is just having to struggle on their own. And so I'm drawing that contrast against Debbie here in South Florida. Contrary to popular belief, is resonating with people. These people have been in office for too long and they haven't done anything for us.
Speaking from the perspective of a person who pays attention to politics, it feels like such an obvious moral line, right? There are people who try and people who don't, people who care, people who don't. It seems so clear when you step back and look at it from a distance, but like obviously in the day-to-day experience of a lot of people who are the ones who actually cast their votes, right? Or don't in a lot of cases, it all just blurs together. The general narrative of the Democrats not being present in Florida, of having failed the people, of they're not even being an alternative to just total Republican control of the state, it depresses turnout.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing all right. Familiar face.
Yeah, no kidding. How have you been?
It's been quite a season.
Treat me like an idiot. Assume, hypothetically, that I'm an idiot. So I know that it's still tight, it's up close, but you're gaining. How are you feeling like going into the primary?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think we are hitting a corner right now, and there's no turning back, and Debbie is struggling right now. She is getting ready to spend a lot of money. She just did a major ad buy in the district. She'll have TV running soon, and she is freaking out. So I feel good about that. I think the next time we do a poll, we should be in striking distance of her, but it's Florida, so you never know.
Yeah, how close is it? What is the most recent polling data say? It's within single digit, right?
It was like 17 because there's like a split field. So she was at 39 and I was at 21, and there are other candidates because there's multiple black candidates, so there's a little bit of a vote split happening there. But
well, for a lot of people, they don't see race, so it might be immaterial to them. So yeah, seriously, how has it been? I mean, this has turned into like a very high profile race. How does the national media attention feel?
Yeah, so the amount of backlash that Debbie Wasserman-Schultz received from running in this district has been, just insurmountable. Every week there's a new piece coming out, there's a new person coming out, and as you might by now, Hakeem Jeffries is even refusing to endorse her, which says a lot. He usually endorses every single incumbent, no matter what. She's the only incumbent he is not endorsing.
Really?
And she is part of his leadership team. So
Jeffries,
she's a former
Wasserman Schultz. Why do you think that is? Because he's endorsed some pretty low down, nasty people. Why hold off here?
Yeah, so she's running in a majority black district that was created under the VRA forcibly to make sure that Black Floridians was able to send somebody to Congress to represent us. There had been a 116-year gap since Reconstruction, and so the seat has been held since it was created in 1992 by an African American. And she carpet-bagged into this district from her district. Remember, Florida just decided to
shuffle everything around.
Shuffle everything around quite a bit, and this race was pretty much over. She decided to carpetbag in here, abandon her district she represented for 22 years to cynically run over here because it's a split field. And the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, is very upset about it as well because, of course, they're losing like almost half their members with redistricting across the country. And so Jeffries, as being part of the CBC and incoming potential speaker, he has to answer to the CBC, and he cannot be going around and endorsing her. That hasn't stopped him from saying nice things about her, but an endorsement,
not formal. Yeah, and of course, Jeffries, is tightly held within the Congressional Black Caucus. I can understand there being like a split motivation there. I'm reminding myself now, Wasserman Schultz has been around for a while. I'm reminding myself of why I dislike her so much, as I peruse briefly. National co-chair for Hillary Clinton's 2008 campaign for president, was elected chair of the DNC, replacing Tim Kaine, resigned from that position after WikiLeaks revealed she and other members of DNC staff had been trying to fix things in the background for Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. Really, really nasty business. That had completely slipped my mind. I forgot. This is one of the leading architects in the Democrats' effort to prevent the party from being shifted leftward.
Yes, she is. And she is still in Congress. Every day I talk to people and they tell me, I have no idea how she's still in Congress. Didn't she leave in 2016 after the primaries? And no, she remained in her House seat. She's still in her House seat. She's never had a real challenge. This is her first time actually having to really fight for her life, and it's showing. You can see her at any black church in South Florida now, at every black event. Suddenly she's become the biggest.
A great ally to the community.
Yep.
She's at the dang cookouts. Well, I hope it doesn't work out for her. How's her ground game? Is she picking up, you think that she's been like adjusting to the sudden challenge well, or does it seem like she's floundering a little bit?
I say she's floundering a little bit. She does have people knocking doors, and I think me and her are the only two candidates doing that.
Mhm.
But you can tell the pandering is just a little awkward. You know, wearing the kente cloth. I think there's photos of her out there. Showing up to all types of black events and black churches and trying to be like black, I guess, and it's not working out well for her. She tried to lie and say she was endorsed by the Black Caucus, and she got caught on that. And now media is reporting there was some backlash, and
That is a
so
really
she's not doing
stupid thing to lie about, I have to say.
well. It was on her website, and she had to forcibly take her entire endorsements page off of her website and take it down because she lied about like cis endorsements, the Black Caucus, Sierra Club, all these endorsements from people who never endorsed her, and she never
Photoshopped her
apologized.
in civil rights photos with MLK Jr., got the
The
great, just
Obama stuff.
her in full color. Yeah. Her shaking hands with Obama. I mean, presumably there are actual photos of that, more contemporary. No, yeah, it's disgusting. It's cynical. I've been talking about this a lot lately too, how like the Democrats, okay, I want to moderate my statements a little bit because I don't want to go crazy with it. A criticism Republicans have often made about the Democrats, I think this is a very insincere criticism coming from Republicans, is that the Democrats are really condescending to their black base because Democrats essentially assume black people will vote for Democrats because Republicans are racist as fuck. And as a consequence, you treat them as a given and you engage in really cynical, like ethnic patronage politics, where you aren't even promising to do good policy or be an effective politician. You're just a representative for subgroups within the Democratic caucus, which is obviously, I mean, this is like a 19th century way of doing politics, right? This is like New York City. Here's like the Irish side of town. You know what I mean? Like to me, it feels really backwards, but it seems to me like the default response sometimes for some of these more like established centrist DNC people,
Oh yeah, and you see it in her campaign. If you go on her Twitter, you'll see every photo. There's like a black person in it. A church. She's at a Juneteenth event, eating collard greens. Or actually, we were at a Juneteenth event and she had collard greens on her plate. Took pictures and then she discarded of it immediately
She
after
threw
taking the
threw
picture.
that shit away and put on some shit. I don't know. Slaw? I don't know. What's a good contrast to collard greens?
Coleslaw.
Yeah. I don't know what the corollary would be there. No, it's really sickening. Like it's funny, right? But then like the what it reveals. It reminds me, oh god, I have the worst memory. New York was it New York 7 with Daria Lisa, where the incumbent that she was running against was running this like Dominican Haitian like local patronage politics games, and a lot of the people were being like really racist with it.
Yeah.
Um oh 13, sorry,
Oh,
New York 17. Or 13, not 7. You know what I'm talking about though?
yes, Daria Lisa and the CHC chair
Okay.
who got thrown.
Thank God, because
I
if
mean,
you
I
didn't
was
know what I was talking about, I had forgotten enough details about it that it would have been on me, not on you. I would have looked like a fool. Thank you.
it was an extremely racist campaign, and we're seeing. I mean, there's racism here in this race too. It's just like the soft side of it. Debbie is saying
Mhm.
oh, I have the support of the black community and I have stood with the black community and the black people know me and I have represented black people before. And I'm like, you have four African American candidates here, and you're saying that somehow you are a better representative. And that's not to say, there can't be a white person running that can represent a black district, but it's certainly not Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And she is so selfish that she is going to take away the Democrats any ability that Florida Democrats will have of winning a statewide seat because so many
Mm.
black Floridians in South Florida are going to stay home in November if she wins this primary because we are literally just about lost every seat in Florida. They took away Al Lawson's seat in Northern Florida in 2022. This one, they drew it in a way in which she'll be taking away this black representation if she wins here. There's only literally just one. There's Maxwell Frost in Orlando, and that's not even a black district, and Frederica Wilson's seat in Miami. Out of the 28 seats we have, there will literally only be like one or two if Debbie
It's a
wins this district.
shockingly undemocratic state, of course. Like, under
Right.
DeSantis, it has been crushed from a like red leaning purple state into a deep red, in large part through disenfranchisement. And I mean, the Democrats have failed horrendously in Florida
Yeah.
as well. Sometimes like the state level ground game, like the clearest example to me recently, because we were following the California elections, right? And it was the prospect of a Republican gubernatorial candidate making it out of the jungle primary and into the general, who would lose. He would lose to the Democrat, right? But it causes a huge increase in down ballot Republican votes. If you have a Republican gubernatorial candidate, people will go out for that and then vote Republican down ballot in their local district. Whereas if you have two Democratic governor chances, right, or like choices, you don't have that effect. Likewise, in Florida, it seems like Democrats consistently fucking fail on the broader
Right.
strategic game of getting people mobilized. You have these like establishment DNC candidates like Wasserman Schultz, who maybe they gun it in the primary, but they are like massive vulnerabilities in the general, and they don't mobilize anyone to go out there and vote, so they depress votes and people think, oh well, I guess it's a red state, what's the point in trying? And that's how Florida got here, at least in
Right.
part.
Right. Yeah, and I tell people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz are not going to incite anyone. Like
Mm.
Broward County is the bluest county in the state of Florida. I have the bluest congressional district. The primary is where you fight it out. Whoever wins on August 18th will be the next Congress member for the district. And so someone like Debbie Wasserman Schultz could theoretically win the primary, take all the money in the world, have APAC come in, buy it for her, win the primary, and then in the general election, depress turnout. I have people supporting me who are Republicans. I know it's kind of strange. Florida is a weird place. You have,
Oh, yeah,
people who support Fishback somehow, but also support me, and we're like completely
that's
different, opposites
yeah,
people.
there's a few differences between you and Fishback, I would say, politically.
Yeah. And so, Florida's just a strange place like that. But turning, my goal is to increase the turnout in the state in the general election. Most people after the primary in the blue district, they just, oh, I don't have to campaign anymore. I won. The general election is going to be speedy, and they don't do any field work. They don't send anybody out to knock doors in the general election. They don't help down ballot candidates. And Broward County is starting to lose, a lot of its Democratic voters.
Mhm.
And Republicans are gaining ground, which is very dangerous because we pretty much hold the state up, and we are the county that kind of resists what Tallahassee is doing. And so if she wins and she's allowed to hold this seat, she's going to depress turnout. Broward County is going to be red within 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Hakeem Jeffries has not endorsed her. I'm glad that he recognizes weakness here. But the fact that there's like no effort on the part of the National Party to ensure prolonged democratic power in states that aren't like already deeply locked blue. They give up on them. It's like a very condescending attitude. He's like, hands off. Okay, maybe she's a vulnerability, I won't touch it. Have you had any contact with National Dems? Like, has there been an effort to use you to sort of uplift the race?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had conversations with members of the Congressional Black Caucus,
Mhm.
and the members are pretty upset. There are some people who've spoken out publicly. There are a lot of people who, there's a culture of fear, in my opinion. I don't know why people are scared of Debbie, but there are a lot of people in Congress who, behind the scenes, they'll say this, or they'll say to a reporter, she shouldn't be doing this, or it's a clusterfuck, one member, said. But people won't really say, they won't come out publicly, except for the CBC chair who came out and said that Debbie Wasserman Schultz should not be running in this district, and that's bad. I've spoken to several members of Congress, leaders across the Democratic Party, and I do believe the CBC wants to come out in this race and get behind a candidate. Problem is, there's so many black candidates, so it's hard to like pick one of them. And I happen to be progressive, so there's a little bit of conversation that needs to be had here, but I truly believe this is going to be a race that comes down between me and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. There's a stronger contrast, a deeper story to tell. Everyone else in the race is establishment, and I'm the only progressive candidate, and so I'm fighting on two fronts here.
Okay, then please tell me. So leaving aside Debbie, who we all hate here, what are you pitching? What uplifts you? I mean, so progressive, right? What does that mean?
Yeah, in Florida, it can mean a lot of things.
In
But
Florida, not easy.
yeah, but in my district, there are like 200,000 or so people who are on Medicaid.
Mhm.
It's one of the poorest districts in the state and in the country. And, as a supporter of Medicare for all, obviously, um, you know, talking to people in my district, going door to door, hearing their stories, hearing like some of the poorest people who, they make $7 an hour, or, now it's in Florida, making $14 an hour. They're, working at hospitals and schools. They're struggling to get by. They can't afford their health care. Their premiums have gone up. And there's no answer from the Democratic Party, no leadership in Washington to address the healthcare crisis. Oh, the ACA subsidies. Yes, we should never have let the Republicans get rid of the ACA subsidies. But the bigger issue is that in a rich country like the United States of America, we're not guaranteeing healthcare to everybody. So that message has been extremely resonant in my district because we have a lot of seniors here. We have a lot of working class people. People here are pretty fed up with the fact that we have corporations, billionaires, and APAC buying up races across the country and in Florida as well. I do believe APAC will get in this race because I'm a candidate that doesn't support genocide, and I've been pretty outspoken about that. And so, as a progressive running in this race, and having a contrast against someone like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who has engaged in massive stock trading,
Mhm.
she takes money from APAC, she supports payday lending, which are some of the worst schools in the country as it relates to the Black community. They're charging 400% interest rates in the Black community, and it's hurting people. And she's taken tens of thousands from private prisons, from payday lenders, from the big banks, from healthcare companies and health insurance companies. And this is somebody who is wholly owned by corporations. And, I'm running from my lived experience after the 2008 financial crisis. I was a kid. We lost everything. My single mom and my siblings were living out of her car, storage facilities, couch surfing. And so I know what it feels like when the government is taking its eyes off the ball and focused on the wrong thing. And now we have an economy that's not working for people. Billionaires and trillionaires seem to be doing just fine in this country. Everyone else is just having to deal with, or just have to struggle on their own. And so I'm drawing that contrast against Debbie here in South Florida. And contrary to popular belief, is resonating with people. People feel like, these people have been in office for too long and they haven't done anything for us.
Yeah, it feels, speaking from the perspective of a person who pays attention to politics, it feels like such an obvious moral line, right? There are people who try and people who don't, people who care, people who don't. It seems so clear when you step back and look at it from a distance, but like obviously in the day-to-day experience of a lot of people who are the ones who actually cast their votes, right? Or don't in a lot of cases, it all just blurs together. The general narrative of the Democrats not being present in Florida, of having failed the people, of not, they're not even being an alternative to just total Republican control of the state. It depresses turnout. And I think that people like Debbie know that, and they're fine as long as they continue. They still have their corporate contracts. They're still going to be on like 17 different, healthcare insurance boards or whatever when they get out of Congress. So it doesn't affect them. But it's so difficult to convince regular people that there's a difference because the stigma is like, well, all politicians are like that, in your like day to day, you're talking with voters. How do people respond to the prospect of a
Yeah, I mean,
progressive, candidate? Like, what do they did? How do you tell them you're sincere?
there's a lot of apathy and distrust already, and I think what you have to do is just talk to people in their language. Democrats have this like really elite way of talking to people. Just platitudes, just like assuming that they have people's support. Like, oh yeah, you must support the Democrat because we're better. For me, I just talk to people normally. I ask them what's on their mind. I actually go and knock on their door and talk to them as the candidate. You don't see much of that. You see people, they send door knockers out or they just send mailers. I like to go and knock on the door and actually introduce myself. And when I do that, people are like, "Holy crap, you're the guy that's running for Congress? Oh, you're on my doorstep. Here's a bottle of water. Like you're sweating your behind off, and you're asking me what I care about." But I think the overarching thing is you just really show them what you've actually done and where you come from, and that resonates. And so when you have somebody like Debbie, who's elite Democrat, corporate Democrat,
Mm.
who grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth and is a corporate Democrat. And then you have me telling them my story of, oh, wow, like I'm from this community, I'm from this neighborhood. Like, I make like 15, $20 an hour, like working in a middle school classroom. I've bussed tables, I've served, like I actually have the student loan debt. My premium is $900 and I'm drowning just like you. And I want to know like how we get out of this together and make people feel like they're a part of something bigger than just one person, and not make it just about the politician. And I think that resonates with people in Florida the most because people will say, okay, like, how do I know you're not like another politician like everyone else, or you're not just um, another corporate Democrat. It's like, no, like here's what I've done. Here's the fights that I've engaged in. This is like what I'm going through life. And I'm not rich. And Democrats in Florida like to run, wealthy candidates that can sell fun
Oh
and think
yeah.
that's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's
And
not
it's
it's
not.
not the most democratic state in either sense of the word. I feel like, especially for Florida, I feel like y'all are not to doomsayer, but you're running out of time. I mean, with climate change ramping up at the rate that it currently is, after the last massive hurricane slammed into northern Florida, the Carolinas, and so on, like Trump denied FEMA aid.
Yep.
There are still like entire counties that are just barren wastelands. People are just living in little, waterlogged shacks. I feel like the Mamdani quote, we're replacing the dismal coldness of individualism with the warmth of collectivism. People are going to be feeling a lot more collective when the only way to survive in Florida is going to be like a robust statewide, or ideally nationwide, right? Like lock
Yep.
arms together, fight against the actual physical annihilation of the state. There's just not a lot of time, you know.
No.
Florida's already like your housing insurance program. Private
Oh yeah.
insurers won't insure housing in Florida because it's a hurricane's going to take the roof off every damn year. So your state has a unique, it's the only one in the country, a state home insurance program. That's like
Yep.
crazy, but it's also an indication that like when push comes to shove, you kind of have to go for those solutions, you know?
Right. Right, and you don't really have an agenda from the Democrats to push back against it. I mean, you see how Republicans govern in Florida, and you're like, holy crap, like we haven't been able to beat this. Like we don't have an agenda to beat this with the voters,
Mm-hmm.
and a total collapse in turnout. You have to ask the question, what are we doing wrong? And it's everything. We're not engaging people, and I think it's ultimately going to come down to, not it's not going to come down to, you know, the Democrat versus a Republican is going to come down to having a strong Democrat that like reaches across the party lines to people on economics. Like, hey, like we're working class, and let's connect on that. I think the problem with the Democratic Party is it just ends up being the identity politics and not also like this is the economic agenda, and we need the left populism to win in Florida. It's the only thing that makes sense. The closest a Democrat ever got to winning the state of Florida was in 2018 with Black progressive Andrew Gillum. I know he's going through some things right now, but he lost by about 30,000 votes in this state, which is like nothing. That's like one city
Mm-hmm.
in Broward County, and since then they've run corporate mediocre, crusty white Democrats like Charlie Crist, and we've lost by 1.4 million votes in the general elections. Um, 30,000 votes in 2018 to a complete collapse of like 1.5 million Democrats staying home and
Which is
the
just
subsequent.
in my opinion at least, it's genuinely like worse than people moving red. At least when people are shifting between red and blue, you know that people are operating on some kind of desire, like they're actioning a position. It might be a terrible position, but they're taking an action. But the apathy, it creeps in, and then people are just taken forever from the system. And it's overwhelmingly it's poor people, right? Upper middle class,
Yep.
wealthy people. They know that there's some angle they can get in to represent their interests. They have the free time to follow politics. But for a lot of poor people, it's just like moment by moment survival, day by day. Got to pick my kid up. Washing machine's broke. Got to go to the laundromat. It's like really base level stuff, and it drives in a kind of cynicism because in their entire lifetime they cannot recall a single time that local government has stepped in and helped. So why believe, right? Why take a chance at it? Why let somebody take advantage of your faith? You know?
Right. And then when you get good people that run, you get good people, you get young people that run. We ultimately don't have the capacity to raise the money, versus the machine to get our message out. So it's much harder. We have to work harder. We have to knock more doors. We have to reach people, and people that are already apathetic or not don't have the time to be engaged. It's much harder to reach them versus someone, like Debbie, who, has $3 million plus unlimited APAC funding and can just, lie to them and trick them, or you know the 5% of people that turn out to vote in the primary who are the super insider people. They know these people and they know the names, and so like in Florida, I think Florida is like ready for like a rude awakening.
Mhm.
There are people ready for something like 2 years ago, I would say Florida was not in a position it was in right now to like get a progressive like elected like for the first time. Like people are upset. People who I never thought would be, communities I never thought would be. I see more Jewish voters in South Florida that are like, hate APAC than ever before.
Mhm.
And so this idea that, oh yeah, like in Florida, like Jewish people are going to be like super pro-Israel, not the case. At least in my district, I can't speak for all the other districts. The state is vast, and you have some same people here, but you have a ton of people in my district who are just that is a defining issue for them. So is Medicare for all. They've seen, and I think having a second Trump presidency has awakened a lot of people up in the sense that they've seen
We have to
like
pay attention. We have to. Yeah. We can't afford to not anymore. No, I agree. I wanted to touch on that too because you mentioned identity politics. The word on the street is you're gay, black, and Jewish. Are you trying to beat them at their own game?
no, I actually don't talk about my identity as much during the campaign at all. Funny enough, but it does get brought up because I mean, you don't really see that in politics. It's hard enough as it is being a black candidate in the South.
Mhm.
In terms of like resources, messaging, and general support, is the South is pretty still the Jim Crow South in many ways, including Florida. People leave Florida out of that, but then also to be a gay man running as well, and to be Jewish, and so um, yeah, it's a weird combination in Florida politics for sure.
It feels kind of like a bit of a breakout though, because like Florida is genuinely a very diverse state, right? Like anyone, if you've gone over to Orlando or Miami or wherever else, you know that there's like a beating heart of progressivism in the state. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of culture there, obviously. And then you take a look at its political representation. You take a look at how it's been run, especially over the past 20 years. And name a third Florida city. Tampa Bay. Shut up. Sorry, Benjamin in chat. You look at how it's been run, and like genuinely, it's like local governance is like the Fourth Reich. I mean, it's really, really bad. So I think, I mean, I would hope at least that a lot of the more it's Tampa, not Tampa Bay. Fuck.
There
Um,
is a Tampa Bay,
I
the
should
Bay
have said
area.
Pensacola because that's where my fucking grandparents. I would visit them in the summer for years and years. I remember it's in the Panhandle. For those who don't, I know you know. I would visit them every summer, and oh my god, it's so humid over there compared to Los Angeles. And I gotta get sort of a flavor for diversity in Florida too, because when we drive around, like the area that we were in was basically like Alabama culturally. But then you go into any of the bigger cities, and it's like, oh my God, it's humid LA. Like it's everyone's here, it's a party city. Miami, everyone's partying. Um, and yeah, I don't know, just totally out of step with local representation. I got very distracted. How
It's true.
you this is not your first time running.
No.
Um, what did you learn from your first time around, like in between now and then? Obviously this time it's gotten a lot of national prominence, but like how do you feel you've applied lessons from the first time to this one?
I would say like I became a much better fundraiser for sure.
Mm,
That is very, very, very hard, and especially when you're not taking like corporate PAC money, but also like coalition building. Like you learn from your mistakes. You learn like, okay, I could have done a better job building coalitions in this way with these communities and demographics, and also like finding your own voice. It's very hard in politics to find your voice, but like for me, it's like okay, just be my authentic self and just say what I have to say and what I feel, and if people rock with it, they rock with it. They don't, they could they could vote against me on the ballot, and that's democracy. But throughout all my races, I've learned okay, fundraising, coalition building, um, you know, public speaking, finding my voice, and yeah, like balancing your community. I think even when my community disagrees with me on something, if I'm able to just explain this is why I feel the way I feel, and I can move people over that way as well. I have a lot of people supporting me. Funny enough, there are people in Florida who are very pro-Israel that are supporting me,
mm,
just because they like me personally. They like who I am, even though like we're diametrically opposed on a lot of these issues. And I think like there's something to say about building like personal relationships with people, that moves people on issues or that gives them to support people that they normally wouldn't because they've seen people do work in their community. They've worked with people in the past, and it's like, oh yeah, like Elijah might be like extreme to me, but like I actually like to do, or I've actually worked with him on like education issues or criminal justice reform, and so like I already trust him.
You talk about navigating disagreements, having respect for your constituencies and the people in your community. What disagreements crop up? I mean, I understand the national issues. Are there any like Florida specific issues that people tend to have on a bit of a schism? Like it's a little more contentious down there.
Yeah, I would say, generally I would say on Israel, but not as much lately. I feel like everyone's kind of on the same page. Um, I
Everyone's
say
like,
like
we get it. All right, okay, yeah. 57, in a week, 57 stories out of there. Bomb this, bomb that. Okay, fine. We'll stop voting exclusively on pro-Israel advocacy.
yeah, I say like there's still like on like taxes and stuff. Like there's still like an attitude in Florida
Mm,
of like okay, like I don't want to pay more in taxes because we are a state where there's no state income tax.
mhm.
So people like that. We keep a lot of our money. So like how to balance, social programs with raising taxes. So that becomes a disagreement sometime with people. There is a deep um hatred, not of progressivism, but I think in many ways of like some aspects of the progressive left of like DSA from people that I don't fully understand. But I think a lot of it, especially in like I'm running a majority black district, so there are a lot of black voters who like they don't rock with DSA or they don't rock, but they'll like me and my ideals and what I stand for, and it's kind of almost the same. But I think it's just exposure at the end of the
It's
day,
so
like exposure.
cultural. Like people think DSA and they think like West Village. They think New York. They think New England. Like big towering brick buildings. I imagine like I don't imagine Florida when I think DSA either. So I kind of see like I guess the cultural divide there a little bit. Like everyone, they say when fascism comes to America, it'll be wrapped in the American flag, and it was. And likewise, everyone wants socialism wrapped in their state flag, right? Californians want California socialism. Floridians want Florida socialism. Floridians, like the down there, you vote on your ballot measures, your referendums, right? Relatively progressive when it comes to like enfranchising felons, minimum wage laws. I know these don't always pan out because of your ridiculous 60-40 rule for actually applying the referendums, but like
That's a
yeah,
good idea.
people.
I think some crazy stuff would pass if it was 51. I'm like, black people, do you have the right to vote?
It's
52% no.
true. It's true. Listen, in my opinion, they should just pass the good referendums and not
Yeah,
pass the bad referendums.
that's true.
But yeah, people want good things, no matter what, wherever they are. It's just everyone's like framing for how that should be presented to them is different. And I guess I don't know. We need Cuban socialism for Florida. I don't know exactly how to pitch that to them. I'm not culturally in the know. I just visited in the summer when I was a kid.
Yep. And a lot of it is just you have a lot of older people who vote. But if like all the young people in Florida actually turned out at the same, numbers, Florida will look completely different, like our entire state government. That is the reason why the Florida Republicans are making it harder for students to vote. Like you no longer can use your student ID to vote in Florida anymore. That's insane.
Really, I
But
didn't know that.
yep, they passed a measure. I'm not sure if the governor signed this already, but I'm sure he will if he hasn't already.
God,
They're
that's
making it
so
harder,
grim.
like with vote by mail ballots. Like if you live in another state, like whether or not you could mail your ballot to your college in another state, that is something they're arguing about right now. And so there's always a different way trying to take away people's ability to vote because they know the writing's on the wall. And if young people wake up and what I'm scared of the most is the Democratic Party in Florida is not building a strong enough bench. It's a lot of very old people who are running, and on the Republican side, they are running young people who are fascists,
Hmm.
like James Fishback types, who
Yeah.
are all the affordability stuff. Like, oh yeah, young people should own a house, they should have health care, but then they're also saying like Jews are bad and all of this other stuff, and like that is going to be like very bad if the Republicans in Florida are able to win young people because the Democratic Party just doesn't engage them, and I'm very very worried about that.
No, I completely agree. It's like a rubber banding effect where like Floridian politics have for a while and will continue to be for a while probably oriented almost entirely around senior care. You're all getting rid of property tax, which is great for funding schools, and then like eventually you can't actually have a country or a state that only has 80-year-olds. Eventually you have to recognize we eventually Eventually, that's not going to work. You need people being born, you need young people, and then there's going to be this rubber banding. You have Fishback, yeah, who's like the loudest, prominent gubernatorial candidate who's like really centering these issues, but doing it, of course, from like a Nazi perspective, which is probably not great for America and the people of Florida. You know, among his many other moral failings, that's probably not a great angle to approach that from. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's very worrying, and if we don't do something about it, because the fact that there's only one Gen Zer like in office in Florida, like
Mm-hmm.
Maxwell Frost, is like insane. And then in the state legislature, that's the case as well. And we have a lot of young people that want to get involved that are progressive, and they lock. That's the reason why they lock us out, because we're like a progressive generation that is not bought and not corporate. But if we don't really turn that around, Florida is going to be lost for generations if Republicans are allowed to like win young people's hearts and minds, and then have like Hitler Youth running around here, getting all the seats in
Do you
office.
think
That's
it'll get better with DeSantis out? Do you think like Donald's will be slightly less draconian in his running of the state, or do you think it's just going to be a continuation of the same?
the jury's out on that one with Donalds. He's been like completely AWOL. Nobody knows really what he stands for. Just I'm like Trump supported, and that's it. But I think like the danger with Donalds is the amount of support he could get within the black community, because they'll say, "Oh, we have a black governor," and like he'll like do a lot of work. I will say one thing about him is like he will make the effort, like he did when he was just in Congress and as a state rep, to actually show up in like the black community. And so he's going to show up cynically and like try to turn people into Republicans, or show them that, oh wow, I am a Republican, I do care about black people, and that will backfire against the Democratic
It
Party in
seems like
Florida.
Fishback is pitching him up for that too, because Fishback's arguments against Donald's basically boil down to, well, I'm white, kind of, and you're black. So, which kind of pitches Donald's to be, in a way, like the anti-racist candidate. Like it means he can position himself in the context of the governor's race. Like, no, I actually love black people and I support them and I'm black and so on and so forth. Which I mean, you're right. I think that in a very like cynical, a lot of voters, don't pay attention to every detail. They just kind of follow general trends. I think it's actually like a very dangerous trend, right? Because it's not like his policies are going to elevate black people in Florida. He's not going to mend racial disparities or correct disenfranchisement of ethnic minorities in Florida. He's going to further all of those. But, image matters, right?
That's exactly the case. And so we'll see what happens with that. Debbie's probably going to screw it up for the Democrats if she ends up winning this primary. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
Do you really think that she would lose the general?
She would not lose a general in this district, but I could see a lot of black voters being
Contribute
salty
to
about
the long term.
right. Should in the long term, and then also I can see a lot of black voters in this district and across the state saying, "F it, I'm staying home in November. I'm not voting for any candidate statewide because they're all going to be white." And people are going to be upset that black representation essentially was like eliminated in Florida with the exception of one seat, and with the identity politics and everything, I think people are going to be upset and decide not to vote for people statewide.
It's kind of what happened
Because
in New York, right? Where like Democrats had an extremely strong hold on the state, but then over time that meant because there wasn't much internal competition, they could just pitch like neoliberals, really pro corporate Wall Street types, and then like that over time, people were like, okay, why even fucking bother? It's going to be a Democrat and the Democrat's going to hate me anyway, so why vote? And then now, like Republicans, over the past couple of decades have been sneaking in a couple of wins there where they probably shouldn't. And it's just, yeah, I don't know, the product of long-term bad strategy, cynicism, not respecting your voters.
that's exactly what it is. And no engagement with any of the communities that they serve. Like people get elected here, you don't hear from them for 2 years, 4 years, and then they come back and ask for the vote. And then people are like, oh, okay, well, now you're talking to me. You haven't been talking to me before. And we're seeing that now. And not just this race, but all across Florida with Democrats running. And, we got some good people. I'm not going to say there's no good people running, but
Mhm.
we want to try to get people through the primaries to the general. And it's going to be hard.
Are you feeling optimistic?
I feel optimistic about it. Even with not a lot of money, we've been able to really get the message out to people in the district, and that's been resonating. And I've been running since January 2025, before Debbie got in this race, when it was just me and Sheila McCormick, who had to resign for fraud and all of that good stuff. And No, I've been putting in the work, talking to the people, and I think people like with the trends in New York and in Colorado and elsewhere. I think Florida sees the writing on the wall, and the voters here are in line with what we're seeing across the country.
Okay, well, if people watching this are interested in alleviating the aforementioned finance gap, what can they do about it?
They could donate either at elijahmelly.com, and there's a link as well here in the chat for folks to donate. Pitch in what you can. This will be the last opportunity probably to remove Debbie Wasserman Schultz from Congress, and it's our best opportunity to do it. So you could contribute on AdBlue or on elijahmanley.com to help make it happen.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Seriously, it would be so nice to get some good news out of Florida. I just remember growing up and thinking, because again, when I would visit my grandparents and in Pensacola is not exactly deep blue territory, not even a little bit, not even slightly. So,
No.
but then I would come home and I remember hearing about or reading about like, no, Florida's actually a purple state. In fact, it might be shifting blue over time, right? And over the past
Yep.
10 years, that has just been like obliterated, consigned to the history books, farcical, even to entertain the thought. I would like to see good news out of Florida.
I think it will happen, and I think this race will be the one.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck out there. Seriously, we're coming up in a primary,
and I'll be watching. I'm usually in the chat, so I'll be watching.
and I'm honored. I'll try to. It's good vibes, okay? I'm projecting well-being and goodness into your race.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
You as well.
That was really nice. I don't talk about it often now because it's a little bit politically out of time. I understand that it's not really like it's not like relevant right now, I guess, in the context of Florida as it exists right now. Like I feel like a tie to Florida, not just because I visited as family, but I guess I have kind of Florida is just such a unique place. You know what I mean? It's such a unique part of America. I feel like Florida is 1/4 of America. Do you know what I mean? Like 1/4 of America is New England, and 1/4 of America is New York City on its own, and 1/4 of America is the Southwest, and then 1/4 is Florida. And I understand that I'm leaving a lot of people out, but in my mind, I'm mentally mapping America right now. Florida is a big part of America. Florida is quintessentially American, you know? And it just sucks that it's a fucking shithole. I don't know. Maybe GTA 6 will fix it. Maybe GTA 6 will herald a revival. I doubt it, but it would be nice. Be nice to get some good news. It is where the next GTA 6 is happening. That's true. And I'm sure it'll depict it in a very flattering light, you know? Anyway, yeah, seriously, please canvass and phone bank. If you live in Florida especially, like I understand that participating in the political process locally is sort of emotionally akin to tearing your own skin off. I understand that. I sympathize with that. I respect that. However, at the same time, it's so important to participate. You really don't want to consign. You can't, like, every time a state goes purple or red or whatever, you can't go like, oh, whatever, it's dead forever to me. I'm not going to care or pay attention anymore. You can't give up on it like fucking immediately, you know? You get me. You're here with me. Texas secession is confirmed. I said the Southwest. That includes, I guess Texas isn't the Southwest, but in my mind it included it because I was including Texas with like Los Angeles, Arizona, New Mexico. Been getting you whole time. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah. Also, he's a fan of the channel. Can we give up on Oklahoma? Yes. I'm happy to announce on behalf of the like broader progressive community that Oklahoma has officially been abandoned. We no longer have to think about it. We no longer have to consider it. We don't have to factor it in. And when I am president, I will abolish the 2 Senate seats from Oklahoma. We will simply not recognize it anymore. But my partner lives there. That fucking sucks. That's awful. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oklahoma's sweet home to indigenous people, though. Yeah, but like that's not their senators. That's the indigenous people of Oklahoma are not the ones pitching the senators into the damn Senate, you know? Maybe it'd be a different story if they were. We don't need to defend Oklahoma by proxy. Get the good people the fuck out of there, all right?